What's up, y'all? And welcome back to the Warsheep podcast, where we challenge those who are wolves in sheep's clothing and reveal the lies hidden in the robes of the religious folk, like Dow Jr. Dow, you're getting ready to go down, boy.
Down today, boy. This boy going down today, boy. He gonna go down to the ground, to the ground, to the ground. Look at you, boy. I'm getting ready to take you down, boy. Getting ready to take you down, boy. Getting ready to take you down. Look at you, boy.
Getting ready to take you down, boy. That's right. Today, y'all, we're going to dive deep into the ancient culture of the Essenes, the truth behind Yahshua's true message, right? And how it's contrary to it and it's antichrist in his spirit. We're going to reveal that here right now, y'all. And how men like Pastor Dowell twist those same texts to enrich themselves, right? While keeping others in bondage, in slavery, and fear. Let's go ahead and dive into this thing right now, y'all. Where, here at the Warsheep podcast, we like to shed light on these things because light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience, and that patience creates unity. So let's get unified in the spirit, y'all.
Is the sheep preaching hate? He says, I'm not going to let the wolf eat me anymore. If the wolf comes in here, next time he comes in here, I'll do whatever I have to do to keep him off my back. Is the sheep violent or is the wolf the violent one? He wasn't teaching hate, he was teaching common sense. Somebody's knocking you over the head, stop him. Do whatever you have to do to stop him. The ones that were knocking him over the head were afraid of the fact that he might swing back. So they said, no, he's teaching hate, he's violent.
All right, y'all, let's get into this thing. The Essenes were an ultra strict separatist Jewish sect, okay? And of course, they existed around the time or before Yahshua was on the scene. You understand? They existed before Yahshua. In fact, they had two different messiahs that they believed in, that believed may come, and some of them did not believe in their messiah actually coming at all. They followed extreme legalism, isolated themselves in the wilderness, and created a class, y'all, a class system where righteousness was earned through rituals, through food laws, and through submission to authority. Does it sound familiar to you? It should. They left behind the Dead Sea Scrolls, in which currently right now are being used by a religious group, a religious sect, a cult, to enslave the children and the people of Israel, something that's contrary to what the Most High Yah would will for your life. You understand what I'm saying? This submission when it comes to spiritual authority, and there's also submission through fear and submission through love, through choice, through autonomy, right? Where through fear is through control, through dominance, through taking over, stripping away from. Two totally different things, right? So my thing is this, right? The text, like the book of Wars, right? Which certain modern cultures, right? Cult leaders like Pastor Dowell, right? Or Dowell, or P. Diddy Dowell, or Airsoft Dowell, now used to justify oppression and being an oppressor and being an elitist and having an elitist mindset, right? Leadership, their leadership, while they're living lavish and high on the hog on the backs of the saints, selling them into complete and total bondage. Listen, Yahshua called out their kind. He called them out. You understand what I'm saying? Though the Essenes aren't directly named in the scriptures because their time has passed, they were rehashed and reformed as the scribes and the Pharisees. You understand what I'm saying? They had the same practices as the Essenes, right? Yahshua's rebuke, right? He rebukes to the religious elite applied to their exact mindset, the exact mindset of the Essenes. Let's get into the recipes And let's get into the receipts of that rebuke. You understand what I'm saying? Now, we have to all understand and remember that the Essenes met their judgment and they met their fate for their hypocrisy. The Roman Empire destroyed the Essenes. You got to understand why. So if you wish to follow after the ways of the Essenes and learn from their ways and their culture and traditions and to keep those ways and to harshly do people wrong, put them out. If they show an ounce of discord or an ounce of disagreement with your position, listen, my thing is this: you will meet the same fate the Essenes have met. And we're going to go over as to what took place during those times. Now, Yahshua was speaking to the scribes and the Pharisees, but the scribes and the Pharisees were the Essenes during that time. They were just named the scribes and Pharisees. I want to also have you remember that Yahshua was in his early 30s when he started his ministry. And when he was rebuking the scribes and the Pharisees, these are men in their 50s, their 60s. These are older men with positions of power and leadership. You understand what I'm telling you? Rebuking them, calling them real insults, saying that they were like whitened sepulchres. Outwardly, they appeared to be holy, but inwardly they are full of hypocrisies and dead man's bones. Those were real insults during his time. He called them fools. We're going to go into some of that right now, to where he spoke directly against the teachings of the Essenes, the teachings of the scribes and Pharisees, in which both are united in the way that they teach you now here today. If they want to teach you, the only thing they need to do is say, hey, the scribes and the Pharisees had it right. Why not? Why don't they present themselves, Dowell and the rest of those cronies, present themselves as the scribes and the Pharisees? And by their fruit, you shall know them. You shall know them by their fruit. Using and weaponizing fear in order to gain control over the men, the priests within the home. Listen, if you can be able to control the most powerful piece on the chessboard, you understand what I mean? Then you would never lose. If you can control when the king falls, then you would never lose. You understand what I'm saying? So if you control the mind of the king on the opposite or opposing side, then you can control the game. You can control your success. You understand? As a priest of your own home, you have a right to defend your position and to use autonomy. Let's get into it, y'all. We're going to dive into some of the scripture, and I want you guys to hear some of the rhetoric that is coming from Dowell. He's the first one in this part one, where we're going to go pure community lies. Part one. You understand what I'm saying? Vetting and keeping the assembly clean means to suppress them, oppress them, right? This is what it means. Let's get into this thing real quick, y'all. I want you guys to listen closely to what he has to say, and I'm going to debunk everything that he has to say in regards to this. In the first one, we're going to dive into the scriptures in order to do so. I know we love to get into the truth. We love to get into the truth here. We love to get into the scriptures and see what Yahshua would have said about these particular situations. All right. So let's get it.
Let's just go ahead and let's just tell the truth, okay? And I'm going to state some facts right here, because the one thing I've learned about reading about the Essenes, which was a very, very serious sect of the Yehudim at that time, they were so serious that they had very few women in their assembly. This group was so serious about serving the Most High Yah. When you read about it, all it does is motivate you. But talking to us today, let's just tell the truth, pastors. Let's just tell the truth. We know, simply, we know them that are among us that are really not with us. We already know it. That they aren't with us. And the truth is, we need to make life easy for them as well as us. We need to send them along their way, because when you look at the Essenes, they have no problem putting anybody out of the assembly. None whatsoever at all. They got rid of, you cast out the scorn of sin and strife will cease. They had no problem with identifying people who are contrary to what they said and just send them along their way. We need to tighten up our vetting process. I'll give an example of what the Essenes. If someone was considering want to come into the Essenes, first thing they would do is they would have them to spend a year outside of the community, living the way that we're living on the community. And then they would have what they'll call curators or overseers. They would have them to go and check on them throughout the year to see how they're doing at their own homestead. All right. I know what this generation would say about that. I can only imagine what their generation said about it back then. It ain't nothing new under the sun. But they were doing this vetting process because they didn't want anybody in their assembly of low character, disobedient, and didn't understand integrity and honor. They just didn't. And then they will still at that take a couple of more years of vetting them to see if they are even worthy to even live among them. It's not hard living on community. We work harder than we probably ever worked in our lives on community because we have an end goal. We know what we're doing. When people have contrary spirits, y'all already know, man, come on. It ain't that hard. It really truly is not that hard to be on the community. These people are showing us by their footprint that they don't want to be here. Even though they may say with their mouth they want to, but when you look at their actions, which betray them, they simply don't want to be here. Let me give you an example about someone if they committed heinous sins in the book of Wars of the Yehudim over in Josephus. And it's book 2, chapter 8, 143. But for those that are caught up in any heinous sins, they cast them out of their society. And he who is thus separated from them does often die after a miserable manner. What we're talking about a reliable sources that tells us what happens, because some people are just difficult. They just and there's no need in being difficult, none whatsoever at all. And as hard as we're working to provide this lifestyle, and mind you, you're looking at some pastors here, we're doing this all because of what we read in the renewed covenant, simply because of the first century, and the Holy Spirit has been leading us every step of the way. We're never going to get rid of those who cause division, those who cause problem. That's always going to pop up. But what we are responsible for is how we adjudicate these matters and how we are not to tolerate these people, because I'm telling you, man, the Essenes, they had a very short fuse, because they were even commanded to sign an oath to come into the community to Yah before you could even be part of us. But
now we got to understand exactly what's being said here. You understand me? We got to know exactly what's being said. There's words being used. Words like, let's tell the truth. We know who is among us, who are not truly with us. Things like that are being said, as well as helping those out who just aren't getting it, right? And putting them out from among us, putting them out. These are trigger words. These are words being used to evoke strong emotions, to get you to be fearful of being, I guess, identified as somebody who's not truly with us. You understand what I'm saying? That's what those are. Cult leaders and cults use these tactics very often, time after time after time, to be able to control the subject's minds, to be able to control the subject themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So they depict you as something, and you try so hard. This is reverse psychology. You understand? This is the Uno reverse. You try so hard to prove yourself to be worthy to these individuals, that you're loyal, that you're committed. Trust me, I fell underneath that same problem myself. Listen, showing yourself to be loyal, to be worthy, to be somebody who's an asset and here to help forward the motion of this particular cult. You understand what I'm telling you? Got to wake up from that. He uses these emotional triggers often. In fact, he tries to use them against myself and other individuals who speak the truth about his lies, right? And his hypocrisy. My thing is this. He uses those emotional triggers by saying that I got nothing better to do than to make videos all day, trying to invoke that my manhood is not full of busy work, that I'm not diligently working. In fact, there's 24 hours in a day, Dowell. There's a lot you can get done within a day if you prioritize your time, if you allocate it appropriately. I'll be working all day long and then come back and hit a live stream for 7 hours and then wake up in the morning and get right back to work. You know why? Because I can be driven, can't I? I'm an ambitious fella. I believe in what we're doing here at the Warsheep podcast, what I'm doing here at the Warsheep podcast, the things that are being invested and poured into to develop the minds of those who are believers in Yahshua. Listen, I believe wholeheartedly that I'm invoking you to thought, to think, to open up your autonomy and actually use your brain and actually say, you know what? Am I somebody's slave or what's up? Where am I at? Am I someone's slave? Or am I true believer in the Messiah? Am I truly serving the right people? If NFL players can come in and commandeer wives and commandeer positions of power and leadership, no, Dowell's just securing the bag. That's the only reason why they have positions of leadership and power and authority, because Daddy Dowell is securing the bag. What does that look like for you when you're a single brother in this ministry, right? You got to understand the emotional triggers when he's trying to trigger you emotionally, trying to use the reverse psychology, making you want to strive harder to be accepted amongst their group. This is what this is. It's diabolical. Wake up, use your mind. And I'm glad I'm able to challenge you to think and use your autonomy. Now, he's saying that they had no problem with sending someone out who's contrary to their belief, contrary to what they saw as righteous, as right, their own doctrine. If you're contrary to what they think, what they believe, then guess what? He's going to pack you up and send you on your way. He's going to kick you out of these communities. He's going to kick you out of the fellowship. You understand what I'm saying? He's going to tighten it up so tight, right? That if regardless on if you see and hear that he is keeping a trident as an idol, as someone that as something that these men are sacrificing their very flesh for in order to obtain, to impress, to appease other men and other women, right? To appease and impress the men in flesh. He called it a trident. Let me go ahead and remind you.
And then the Ninth Ranger, the Trident Frogman. The Trident Frogman. The Trident Frogman.
So my thing is this, right? If you disagree with this particular trident, known in Greek mythology, also known in Roman mythology, but it does not have any history in Hebrew culture. It doesn't have any history with deities or mighty ones in Hebrew culture. And if you're totally fine with this, guess what? You're more than safe, but you're also keeping other mighty ones before the Most High Yah's face. But not only that, if you're contrary to the trident and you disagree with the position, then you need to ask Brother Nick. You need to ask Brother RT. You need to ask individuals who has a personal issue with and stood on righteousness for this practice of keeping a trident that men are sacrificing their very flesh for, right? They're going to Goshen and sacrificing their very flesh to obtain this idol. You understand what I'm telling you? This is what's taking place. The sacrifice is real. The sacrifice is plenty to an idol. If we're not even keeping a crucifix, if we're not even wearing Nikes, what makes you think that this trident is okay to sport, to wear, to, I guess, give power to give authority to, and then try to deceive the people and call it a fork? I believe he believes you to be very dumb. You understand what I'm saying? Let's continue. Now we have to understand that Yahshua, Jesus, the Messiah, called out individuals like Dowell, like Airsoft Dowell during his time. We have to understand that, and we know it. And I'll reiterate it for you again. For those of you who aren't familiar with my work, who's not familiar with the work that I have been putting in to dispel and debunk the thought that the Essenes had it right in community It was nothing but filled of hypocrisy and lies. You understand what I'm saying? That's the reason why they met their ultimate end in their destruction. Let's get to it, y'all. Though the Essenes aren't named directly in the Bible, listen, Yahshua rebukes the religious elite, okay? And the same as we see today with Dowell and the rest of his cronies having this elitist mindset, as I spoke about in my last live stream, this is applying to them right now, today. It's their exact mindset. Let's get into the receipts in regards to what I'm talking about. Let's go to Luke 4:18. Let's go to Luke 4:18, y'all. Sometimes people believe they're deceived into believing that they got it right, and which they don't. All right, Luke 4:18. The spirit of the Elohim is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptance year of the Elohim, to preach the acceptable year of the Elohim. Okay, to preach the acceptable year of the Elohim, of the Master. So when we're seeing this, the captives here, right? The captives here weren't just political or prisoners. You understand what I'm saying? They were spiritual slaves to man-made religion, right? To the Essene system kept people under bondage, as well as being enforced by the scribes and Pharisees. It kept them under fear, under bondage, under legalism of the law, to the letter of the law. It did not redeem them appropriately. So Yahshua had to come and set the record straight in regards to this mistake. This is the reason why he said he came to set the captives free. He came to set the captives free, to preach deliverance to the captives, to those whose minds are captivated by the law, for those whose mind are in bondage, in chains. You understand what I'm telling you? Not only for those whose mind is in bondage and change because they're dealing with and suffering from demonic strongholds, but also because the law did not set them free. Not enough. The law of sin and death kept them in bondage, kept their conscience seared to where they could not free their minds to enter into that next step, to die of oneself. It kept them bound to the old them, because they continued to remind themselves of the sin that they committed back when. You got to understand that. Sometimes they went without any reciprocity, without any closure, because the Essenes' way of life was so harsh and so strict that it was not able to be made right. Some of these judgments were false judgments and levied false accusations and charges, where false accusers were ruling and able to get over. You got to understand that. So the Essenes' way of life had some flaws. The spiritual man was not able to truly receive repentance and forgiveness and clearing of the conscious mind, because we have to understand that's the way. We have to clear our conscious mind. We have to have a clear conscience, a clear mind, free from sin, in order to spiritually connect and grow, right? So my thing is this, right? This legalism kept them in bondage, right? Let's go to Matthew 23:4. Let's go to Matthew 23:4. Matthew 23:4. So Matthew 23:4. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. So these burdens, these heavy burdens that they placed on the men's, on the people's shoulders, the burden of having to be perfect, the burden to have to prove yourself that you're not somebody who is contrary to the system, right? The burden of having to prove that you're submitted, that you can submit or quit. You understand what I'm saying? There's the burden of having to prove the level of submissions that will jeopardize your position of priesthood when you know it feels unnatural. If you're not in an inner circle, then those burdens are placed upon you. You understand what I'm saying? But all their works they do for to be seen of men. You got to listen to this. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. So when he's talking about everything he's talking about in regards to the Essenes did everything submission, obedience through what? Righteousness. They wanted to deem you righteous through submission and obedience. But this submission and obedience came with fear. It was coupled with fear. Listen, but it was not something that we should have been doing to one another. We only should be fearing Yah. We ought to submit to Yah rather than man. We shouldn't fear men. We shouldn't make ourselves servants to men, only servitude to the Most High Yah. So while you're playing games and playing church and playing your positioning roles to get a place of authority, to place of leadership, you understand what I'm saying? Head of assembly, teacher, leader, whatever type of position you're looking for. Listen, you're doing all of this, right? But all your works, you do them to be seen of men, not to be seen of the Most High Yah. Right? They make broad their fallacies and enlarge the borders of their garments. Okay? So they make themselves appear to be something, right? So they can be favored amongst men. You love the uppermost rooms of feasts at feast and the chief seats and the synagogues, right? He's rebuking them. You love, these are the things you love. You love the uppermost rooms at the feast. You love the chief seats in the synagogues, right? You love the power, the authority. You love to be able to tell people, listen, submit or quit. Listen, we're going to find you. And if you're not of us, you're not for us, we're going to get rid of you. This is what you love. You love the level of control, manipulation. Think about the level of control and manipulation that someone has to have in order to tell a schoolmaster, in order to tell someone like Kabir Bajamila, you know, Kabir, the girlfriend.
I just want to let Pastor Pat, I love you. You gave me life. You gave me life.
Someone like him, imagine this. Taking a situation, taking a circumstance, right? And using it against someone else. You tell somebody, hey, guess what? You don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not the one you need to worry about. You need to be worried about, because black people don't shoot up schools. It's white people who shoot up schools. Telling someone this, right? And then you proceed to send two white men who are armed to the teeth with extra rounds and extra magazines for ammunition, with knives, to a school play after you just threatened him. What sense does that make? What sense does it make? You understand what I'm saying? You're exercising a level of control, of power, of authority, and trying to flex your muscle, trying to show somebody, hey, I'm at will. I can send a couple of hitters at you. What sense does it make? Just for one of them who sacrificed his very freedom. You understand what I'm saying? Who sacrificed his very freedom for you to treat him like absolute trash. And that was his fate. He just asked you certain questions that made it that made it clear that he understood that seems like I'm under bondage, seems like I'm in slavery. Asking you questions on how. Probably not with the thoughts of trying to destroy you, but trying to understand more about your position and seeing if it can be fixed, if it can be changed, or if it can be molded. But you treated that brother just like a pimp. You treated that brother. I got a contract with you to say, don't speak to me, don't say nothing. This is how you treated him. You treated him just like that. Even though he sacrificed for you. But he did it unto the glory of men. You understand what I'm saying? And so Yah can't bless that. He can't bless that. But he can allow you onto your own devices, right? Who love the uppermost rooms, right? At feasts. Loves to sit at the head of the table. Who loves to be seen by those who are in position of leadership and power. And the chief seats, right? In the synagogues. This is what you all are guilty of in straightway. All you men, so-called men, you males, you cowards. And greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, rabbi, to be called a position of authority, of leadership. He's rebuking you openly. This is Yahshua. Rebuking you openly for desiring a position of leadership over your desiring holiness and righteousness. You understand what I'm saying? And desiring being fake and flawed and overly religious and falsely religious over being a real individual, a real example, somebody who can be related to. But be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, and that is Yahshua, that is Christ. And all ye are brethren. We're all brethren. Be not called rabbi. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in Shemaim, in glory in heaven. Have a distinct separation between the two. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ, even Yahshua. But he that is greatest among you shall be what? Your servant. Thou should be serving you. You shouldn't be serving Thou. You shouldn't be building him houses. He should be doing all that he can to build and to grow for the people and not for himself, not for filthy lucre. You understand what I'm saying? And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be, and whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. Right? But we have to understand when he goes forth and starts to rebuke them, the woes, the 8 woes that rings the ears in the halls of Straightway Truth Ministries, that rings throughout every land and every pillar. The reason why people are waking up in alarming levels and turning away from this wicked place is the 8 woes. Woe, but woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Woe unto you, thou and the rest of you cronies, you hypocrites. For ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. You don't allow people to learn the truth of freedom in the Yahshua, freedom in the Most High Yah. You understand what I'm saying? You shut up the real achievements, the real things of the kingdom. Understanding how to receive a legacy, you shut that up. The real freedom. When people are coming out of her, what are they stepping themselves into? The house of Dowell and servitude. and becoming a servant and becoming a slave unto the house of Dowell for their generations to come. They're gonna replace each other with no real assets to pass down. You understand what I'm saying? You're shutting up the kingdom. You're shutting up the way that we should be truly doing this. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Therefore you should receive a greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayer, just to give a show, just to put on a show. You come out here and you put on these sermons, you do what you do, but truly it's a facade. But truly under the surface, you're wicked. You're lying to the people. You're not being honest and forthcoming. You say, Dowell, that you're an open book, easily be read of all men, but yet you have people signing NDAs. What a hypocrite. But you have people signing NDAs. Mr. Open book, easily be read of all men. Mr. Don't gotta hide nothing. Mr. Wanna be straightway truth ministry, straight gay. False sinistries. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. So you entice and influence these people to do what? To shut up their eyes and shut up their ears to unrighteousness and wickedness in order to chase and pursue levels of power, to chase and pursue women. PMS. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, whosoever shall swear by straightway, so commit themselves to straightway, is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Right? Committing yourselves to the things of this world, committing yourselves to the things that straightway has to offer you. Not worried about the spirituality, not worried about what's truly taking place, but you're turning a blind eye to unrighteousness and wickedness in order to do what? Swear by the gold of the temple. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. If you're swearing by the altar itself, you're swearing unto Yah. It is nothing. It is permitted. You're swearing by the altar of the kingdom of Yah. But when you sweareth by the gifts that is upon it, he is guilty. You are guilty of idolatry, of man worship, of all these different things. When you start to view a man and you start to listen to one singular man and only think on that level. When you do so by seeing the gifts, right, of being able to have status, prestige, control, women, money, lands, right, to govern over, to care for, because you're essentially a caretaker of the land. Once you hand that land over to the foundation of Dowell, then at that point, Dowell is the one who's the controller. You're just the caretaker. Ye fools and blind. He's calling you fools and he's calling you blind because you cannot understand the truth, and you also can't see the truth. For whether is greater the gift or the altar that sanctifieth the gift. You're not swearing yourself to the altar of Yahweh. You're swearing yourself to the sacrifice, to the gift, which is the lands, which is the whatever it may be. You're sacrificing yourself to it, and you're not swearing yourself to the altar, to the kingdom. Because the moment you sign over your lands and your properties, guess what? That gift is owned and controlled by the house of Dowell. You got to understand that. Whoso therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of Yah, and by him that sitteth thereon. So he's telling you, Yeshua, Jesus is telling you, where should you direct your attention to? You should not direct your attention to the gift. You should not direct yourself to the person who built the altar, but yet you need to direct yourself to what? To heaven, to Shemayim, to glory, to the throne of the Most High Yahweh. And him who sitteth upon that throne, you need to commit and dedicate yourself to him, not to a man who you have given over all your assets to his foundation, to build him more wealth for filthy lucre. You don't own anything, in which Yeshua or Yah wants you to build a legacy for your future generations. If you're not building a legacy for your future generations, you're worse than an infidel, correct? Absolutely. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and honest in cumin and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith, which the Essenes have none. I've went over this already. Mercy in their judgment, faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You should have mercy upon someone if they're not getting it right the first time. You should have mercy upon them. You should give them opportunities to get it right. Ye blind guides, ye strain at a gout and swallow a camel. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of what? Extortion, and what? Excess. I don't believe that I ask for anything from individuals. People willfully give. I haven't started a practice of, can you hit the Cash App? Can you hit the PayPal? Extorting the people, making them believe that something's being done with the funds that aren't truly being done. I don't have things that I've put out here like GoFundMe's or anything like that, saying it's going to be used for a greater cause and to feed the saints or to build houses for the saints, and then go off and start running off to vacations. Spending thousands of dollars on vacations a year, 6 times, 7 times a year. By their fruits you shall know them. I'm not buying trucks, brand new, AMGs, things like that, things that are of the world. You understand what I'm saying? Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones, and of all uncleanliness. Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity, full of it. This is Yahshua speaking directly to straightway truth ministry, straight gay truth ministries. This is the Yahshua talking directly to you. Outwardly, you appear to be righteous unto men, but within ye all are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Y'all don't know. Yeah, you really don't keep it real with the people. Y'all know what type of sin y'all under. Why not keep it real? Why not say that you're battling with these sins so you can overcome them, so people can understand that you're real people and not think that they need to exalt you above all, including the Most High Yahweh. Woe unto you, scribes, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the temples. Remember, this is Yahshua talking to men who are in their 50s and 60s. He's only in his early 30s during this time. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers. What did Muir say? If we were in the days of our fathers, that boy would be dead. What do they continuously say? We got to seek after the old past, the days of our fathers, the Essenes. We would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. And they believed themselves to truly not be somebody who persecuted the prophets of those times, that they would not be a part of that group, even though they adhere to the law and the ways of the Essenes so heavy, to where my thing is this, right? It's hypocrisy all throughout, right? Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. They behave as though they're the children who killed the prophets. They don't understand the real truth and the real weightier matters. This is the reason why they're trying to enforce the Essenes belief on straightway truth ministries, on these individuals who are part of this ministry. Enforce the beliefs of the Essenes. You know why? Because fear is a great motivator, but also is love. They choose to use fear to motivate and not love. They choose to use fear. They choose to use the ways of the Essenes to justify their brutishness, to justify the level of scribes and Pharisees who they truly resemble. That's the true fruits of this ministry, so-called ministry. You understand what I'm saying? They were a part of the children. They were the children who killed the prophets before. They were not the children who sought to redeem the prophets. They were the children who killed the prophets. And they don't believe that. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers. Fill up the measure of your fathers. Do what you need to do. Fill it up. Ye serpents, ye generations of vipers. This is a 30-year-old man talking to 50s and 60s. He talking to older men in positions of power and leadership and authority spiritually. He's talking to older men in his 30s like this, calling them serpents. These are true insults, calling them serpents, calling them vipers. Ye serpents, ye generations of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? They won't be able to escape it unless they repent and turn away from it. These are modern day scribes and Pharisees we're looking at here, in which Yahshua is directly speaking against their actions. Listen, wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify. How many of you are willing to kill and crucify me in all of my imperfection, but screaming and shouting, repent now, turn away now, get back to the path of Yahshua now. Do not go to the old paths. Do not seek those old paths, the old paths that put the people in bondage and slavery, that will have people serving you in fear that they would lose all, in fear that they would be put out of a ministry or cult. How many of you will seek to kill me, to crucify me? How many death threats? How many threats have you sent my way? How many curses have you sent my way in order to try to crucify me or kill me? How many? And some of them, right, shall ye what? Scourge. And some of them you shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from the city to city. Yeah, you're going to do that. Those who are telling the truth, speaking truth, and bringing the true message of Yahshua, of the gospel, not the message of the Essenes, not the message of the scribes and the Pharisees, but the message of Yahshua, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barchias, whom ye slew between the temple of the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon these generations. So for generations to come, there will be people who will rise up and they will take the persona of the scribes and Pharisees and take this literal, right? And they start to enforce the fear. They will start to enforce these behaviors of the Essenes, of the scribes, of the Pharisees. And there will be people who also will rise up and will speak contrary to what the enforcing of fear, to dominate in fear, to submit in fear of loss, of unacceptance, of rejection. These individuals will rise up and speak contrary to what they're trying to force and push onto the people of Israel. And then those same people will have to suffer prosecution, have to face potential prosecution in regards to what they're doing, to shake people awake and get people to realize what the truth truly is. You understand what I'm saying? Real quick. All right, let's go to Colossians 2:20. I want to be sure I'm making my time here on this pre-record. Colossians 2:20. You know, that's how you got to do it. If you want to start ripping people apart, ripping people to shreds, and still have time to get some work done, you gotta, get your, make sure you're compartmentalizing your time, using your time wisely. 2:20. Let's go. 2:20. Right? 2:20. All right. Wherefore, if ye be dead in Christ, in Yahshua, with Yahshua, from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to ordinances? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. This is seeing doctrine that's being pushed. Why are you being taught this? Why are you being displayed this? Why is this washing your mind? Why are you submitted to this, right? Wherefore ye be dead in Yahshua, not after the rudiments of the world. Why? Why is the same question that our beloved brother Paul asks in the Colossians, because they're looking to suffer or fall upon the same mistake that Straightway Truth Ministries is looking to suffer upon. As though living in the world are ye subject to what? Ordinances. You're going to subject yourself to ordinances of this world, right? Which say touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are what? To perish with the using. After the commandments of doctrines of men. Listen, they're not teaching you a doctrine that Yahshua would promote, would produce, would even speak positively of. They stuck to the Essenes. Now let's continue. Which things have indeed a shoe of wisdom in will, worship, and humility, and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the sacrifice, to the sanctifying of the flesh, and not to any honor of the sanctifying of the flesh. Paul exposed the legalist system, the elitist type of system, the legalist type of system, meaning you must submit, and that submission will prove you to be righteous, right? The submission under fear will prove you to be righteous. The legalistic system was passed down from groups like the Essenes, like the scribes and the Pharisees, who valued the strict human tradition over grace, over forgiveness, over repentance, over these things, over, all of this. Mercy over mercy is one of the biggest ones. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls exposed Dowell. We're going to get into why the Dead Sea Scrolls exposed Dowell, right? Let's listen in as to what he had to say. Let me get my timestamp. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls just exposed him, so he needs to get rid of whatever he's talking about now, because he does not fit the bill. Let's listen in as to what was said here, okay? Let's go ahead and get this pulled up. Let's listen in.
Today, they've already done, and it's recorded and it's written about. Book of Wars, book 2, chapter 8, chapter 7, paragraph 139. And before his is allowed to touch their common food, he is obligated to take tremendous oaths that in the first place he will exercise piety towards Yah, and then that he will observe justice towards men, and that he will do no harm to anyone, either of his own accord or by command of others, that he will always hate the wicked and be an assistant to the righteous, that he will ever show fealty to all men, and especially to those in authority, because no one obtains the government without God's or Yah's existence. You hear that? None of us that are sitting here today got what we are today because we chose it of our own. All of us have been assisted by Yah to be in a place that we're in. And that if he be in authority, he will in no time whatever abuse his authority, nor endeavor to outshine his subjects, neither in his garments nor in other finery, that he will perpetually be a lover of truth, and purpose to himself to reprove those that tell lies, that he will keep his hands clear from theft and his soul from unlawful gains, and that he will neither conceal anything from those of his own sect, nor discover any of their doctrines to others, no, not though anyone should compel him so to do as a hazard to his life. Moreover, he swears to communicate their doctrines. In other words, what we've been talking about, if anybody's speaking about anything behind the scene, they made a sworn oath to tell it and expose it before it runs all of its course, because it's nothing but Diablo, the Satan himself. And look what he says. To no one on the otherwise that he receives to himself, that he will abstain from robbery, and will equally preserve the books belonging to their sex as the means of angels or messengers. These are the oaths by which secure their proselytes to themselves. But for those who are caught in any heinous sins, that's what I read earlier. But I'm telling you, man, this thing is extremely serious. Extremely serious. And I would venture to say, because
now he says these things right in regards to outshining. You know what I mean? He stands in the pulpit and says, rule number 1, never outshine the master, right? To never outshine the master.
it got what we ought to. Biblical overture, because it has biblical overture in it. That these people have some type of inspiration and some type of unction from the Most High. A Baptist is not going to tell you that the doctrine that he's preaching and teaching is Calvinism. No more than a Lutheran is going to tell you that he's preaching Martin Luther. This is making sense.
Infuse their culture. They really try to infuse their culture and their wicked doctrines right into the Torah. They tantalize the Torah just a tad bit, because truth is the only thing that's going to grab you. They got to get the truth from somewhere, but the only place you're getting it is from the Torah. So they get you with that little truth.
So guess what doctrine y'all going to continue steadfast in today? Pastor Dowell's doctrine. And you are never, ever to outshine the master. Look at him looking. Man, when I was under Bishop Mulberry, man, I was doing everything I could to support him. I would. So much so to the point that the elders and deacons will get mad at me for supporting him. Can you believe it? Then it came time, because I would lay hands on people. People receive the Holy Spirit. I would lay hands on people. People would get free of demons and all kind of stuff. And the people could recognize it. And they would just start coming to me. Because we did the prayer line. So whenever the bishop line was full, then they would come over to me. And I asked the bishop, I said, is it okay? Because they're coming to me. And I asked the bishop, I said, is it okay? Because they're coming to me. And I asked the bishop, I said, is it okay? Because they're coming to me. You are never, ever to outshine the master.
Now, we all know that the book of Wars is speaking about the leader, and the leader shall not exalt himself over the congregation, nor shall he dominate them. He shouldn't dominate them with high hand or high authority or positions of authority, as well as Yahshua, who says that if there are someone great among you, let him be a servant to you. He shall be a servant amongst his brothers, right? Boom. You understand what I'm saying? Right there, you see right there, the very scroll that Pastor Dowell is using and quoting is saying what it's saying. It's saying it right from its own words, that leaders must not exalt himself, must not dominate, and must serve.
And you know this, man.
Oh, fuck. And you see what exactly what the truth is. But what do you see? You see multiple homes and personal wealth. You see control over men's wives and families. You see public humiliation and exploitation of other brothers. You see the taking, like Jordan. You see the taking of another brother's wives or other brothers' wives just based on exploiting their circumstances and situations. You see them living lavishly, living under the backs and living on the backs of the servants of the people of Straightway. This is not a set apart living. This is a filthy lucre. That ain't service. That's slavery with a new face. Dowell uses what? Ancient texts to build a throne for himself while ignoring the commandments within them. He's not going to compound on top of this. He's not going to point out the facts that he's doing exactly what these ancient scrolls telling him not to do. But Yah will make sure that he brings out the truth regardless in midst of all of the lies. Those are the things that you're going to ignore. It was hard for him to read through it because he knows he was guilty of it himself. Yahshua came to set the captives free. And he came for the downtrodden. Yahshua came for the Jordans, came for the Bells, the Beckers, the Carswells, came for you, came for me, those who are broken, those who are not exalting and have not exalted themselves. Those who have been kicked out to stand on truth because they stood on truth and stood for something, with nothing but $1,200 to their name after building businesses and legacies for another man's foundation, for the women overworked and unseen, for the children growing up under the shadow of fear instead of freedom. The message of Yahshua was clear. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And that is John 8:32. But men like Dowell want you dependent and want full preeminence over you, over your generations to come, to serve his family. It's their truth, not Yah's truth. Listen. So the next time you hear a so-called shepherd quoting the Dead Sea Scrolls, ask yourself, is he living it, or is he leveraging it? Is he using it to his advantage? Because the same Yahshua who flipped tables is still flipping false teachers' tables today. Don't be a sheep for slaughter. Be a Warsheep. Be a thinker. Be someone with autonomy. Be a part of the Warsheep nation, questioning everything. Even the scrolls, especially the men and the man who is behind the mic and trying to wash your mind into control, into dominance, into fear. I appreciate you guys joining me here today for this premiere of the part 1 on pure community lies. Don't forget to like this video, comment and subscribe, okay? And share this video with those who need to be woke up to the truth. This is your host, Barak. Listen, we'll see you guys in the next flock. If you're ready to break the chains and expose the wolves, until next time, shalom and power to the remnant. Peace.